Hello, Ross Ketschke here with EIV News. We're sitting with Green Party candidate Dr. Jill Stein. Welcome. Thank you for joining me today.
Great to be here.
All right, well, let's get right to it. So you are the candidate for the Green Party for the 2016 election, and you've had a long-standing career as both an activist and a politician here in Massachusetts. Now, as someone who's on the presidential ticket this year, how important is winning Massachusetts for any presidential candidate?
Well, as an independent third party, you may know that the system is very steeply tilted against us. When Donald Trump talks about the election being rigged, he has no clue how rigged the election is on his behalf. $4 billion worth of free primetime media for Donald Trump. Hillary Clinton got about half as much. Bernie Sanders got about half as much as that. We've essentially been locked out of media coverage, and as a third party you have to fight very hard in order to get on the ballot. So it's a very different story as an independent third party. Our goal is to really break through the media silence. Our goal is to help empower voters, because in this election, as you may know, these are the Hillary and Donald are the most disliked and untrusted candidates ever in presidential history. And there's an enormous fear campaign going on to constrain people to voting for one or the other, mostly on behalf of Hillary Clinton. So voters are, kind of in a bind right now. They've been intimidated into feeling like they have to vote for the lesser evil. So, our goal is to, number one, let people know that we're out here, because many people, 4 out of 10 voters, according to the New York Times, are not going to vote because they don't buy into this predatory political systems that has been throwing everyday people under the bus. Lousy jobs, poverty wages for most people, health care, which is skyrocketing. Even people who have insurance can't afford to get it, and an entire generation of young people locked into debt. So, we're here to let people know there is an alternative. I'm the only candidate that is not corrupted by the money of lobbyists, corporate interests, and super PACs. So we're here to let people know there is a campaign that is of, by, and for the people, and that also has solutions to the really critical problems that people are struggling with, that the other two parties really don't even touch with a 10-foot pole.
And how are you able to break through that media silence that you said? The coverage difference is monumental. You almost can't even quantify the difference between what the two major party gets and you, or even Gary Johnson, another popular third-party candidate. What have you found most effective in breaking through that media silence, reaching to those voters who are unhappy with the major party candidates?
There are many ways, and part of it is just talking to independent media like yourself, who are not afraid to actually cover the alternatives and to inform voters, which is supposed to be the job, of the press. We have a press in order to have an educated electorate. So it's talking to the independent press, it's also through social media, it's through our websites, it's through our Facebook page, it's through doing live streams like this. And I encourage people to go to jill2016.com or to our Facebook page or our Twitter, Dr. Jill Stein, and that's Dr. no period Jill Stein, and find out about how we can, for example, bail out the students. We bailed out the crooks on Wall Street to the tune of $16 trillion. We can certainly afford to bail out an entire generation that is locked in student debt. We can also stop these insane, catastrophic wars, these regime change wars, which are costing us more than half of our discretionary budget. Almost half of your income taxes are going into these wars, which have done what? Given us failed states, mass refugee migrations, and worse terrorist threats. They're not making it better, they're actually making it worse. We're the only campaign that's talking about a foreign policy based on international law, human rights, not on brute military force. So these are the kinds of things that people are really dying to know about. Go to our website, find out more. The election is not over. People are still really really clamoring for another option of politics of integrity, because the more we see of these two candidates, the more we learn that one is the kind of the sexual predator and the other one is the queen of corruption. And people are not happy voting for either, and it's really important, I think, for us to have the courage of our convictions and to know, for example, just the number of young people locked into student loan debt. That alone is enough to actually win this election. If people actually came out and voted for the only campaign, and you're looking at it, that will put an end to student debt and actually make public higher education free.
And I know that's one of the biggest policies that that you're running on is forgiving America's student debt. And a question about that: there's an estimated $1.2 trillion in student debt, and you referenced the major Wall Street bailout back in the late 2000s. With a national debt of currently roughly around $18 trillion, how do you plan on affording to essentially buy out that extra $1.2 trillion in student debt in addition to our national debt?
So there are several ways that we can pay for that debt. One of them would be to redirect the money. Right now there's $1 trillion that's going into creating a new generation of nuclear weapons. Nuclear weapons should actually be abolished. We should be really intensifying efforts for nuclear abolition instead of resisting them, which unfortunately our current administration and the past many administrations, Democrats and Republicans, have been very much a party to this new nuclear arms race. According to Mikhail Gorbachev, the last leader of the Soviet Union, we are at the most dangerous moment ever in human history in terms of the potential for nuclear war. So there's every reason to be backing off. $1 trillion going into a new generation of nuclear weapons under the current administration. How about instead we just redirect that money to a new generation of young people, not a new generation of nukes, but a new generation of young people who deserve to be bailed out. It always takes the vision and the genius of the younger generation to remake our economy. Right now they're missing in action. They're held hostage in debt. They've got two hands tied behind their back. We need to liberate them to lead the way forward. So redirecting this disastrous nuclear weapons project is one way. Another way is let's tax Wall Street. Let's tax the crooks that we bailed out, who crashed the economy through their waste, fraud, and abuse. This is the only sector of the economy that does not pay a sales tax. A small 0.2% sales tax on Wall Street transactions would generate close to $400 billion a year. We could have the student debt paid off within a year or two. And remember, this is an investment into the stimulus package of our dreams, because we're talking about 43 million people who already have the skills, they have the degree, they have the training. They need to be turned loose so that they can take the risks to create the small businesses, the nonprofits, the worker cooperatives, so that they are actually creating the economic engine of the economy of the future.